Hey everyone, Marsh from Consequence here. I wanted to go over Kurog, and this is probably the boss that people should go to after Senarth right now, but if you want to go Dathia too, that's fine. There's some positives and negatives to both. Kurog is a little more of a gear check, but it's still kind of mechanically challenging in terms of like, if anyone messes up at all, even if the mechanics are easy, you will make the check at the end of the fight. Dathia is a little more forgiving, and it's more like managing the platforms. But we're gonna go over Kurog, and whatever decides or whatever direction your guild decides to go should be fine. So first, we're gonna talk about composition. Now, if you're pulling the boss now, the composition at the end of the day probably doesn't matter if you like want to put in a few more pulls, but there are a few more better classes because it's a lot of two target and a lot of like constant cleaving off. It's just, if you're bad two target class, you're really gonna suffer. So I don't do this a lot, but honestly, if you pull up the percentiles for this fight, there's some classes that excel a lot more than others. Now, granted, some of these are just strictly cleave damage. So, like, if you look at like boss, or like, this is really a lot of cleave damage. But you look at like boss damage, all of a sudden other classes become better. So you really need to think about like what your group needs. Now, it's also 5 heal, and any 5 healers should work just fine. But again, that's with Kurog. So the first thing we were going to go over here is the way we set up the markers. Now, P1 is just a dance that you need to memorize to complete the fight. Now, what's going to happen here is they're going to drag the boss over to about here. What you can see is that everyone's able to stand in the healing rain and the druid circle. So, the ad comes out, and this ad basically needs to die before I believe the second dance, and I'll tell you exactly when that is. However, the ranged players are going to group, and they're going to bait a pool here. Okay, so we're baiting the pool. And now in the comms, it says, bait green, now go purple. So we're baiting purple. So now the idea is you're going to be looking at your timers, and you're going to be baiting the next set of waves and then going in for a dance while taking healing from the AoE healers, like maximum healing. Now, this is a soak mechanic. The soak mechanic can be done by multiple classes, but we have our tank tanking it here. So the tank's going to go in and take it because any class can kind of like get in and jiggle around in it until it's gone. Immunities work really well. We'll do that for another set, but the tank can usually just run in there and take it. We drop another pile of pulls here, and now we're going into the dance, which exists in Heroic. And there's a weak ore that you can go on Wago, anyone can get, and it's just Dark Recital from Nathria, and you're just gonna go. The people without it go left, and the people with it go right. One thing to note is there's a tank frontal, so if you go around the boss, you'll get frontaled. And then we're just gonna stack up right on blue. So again, we went from green, purple, now we're at blue, and we're moving. And now we're waiting, and now there's 2 more circles here out. Okay, so right now we have a rogue and a paladin doing it because it's during this like pools and line stuff. So just having immunities get this set was really easy. So he forgot one, but he's going back. And now we're going to be baiting one more set, and we're going to be moving as a group. One thing for the dance, one thing to note is that this ad, if you look at the timers, should be dying right before this dance. So we did this perfectly. The ad dies, we move forward, the dance happens. We do not want that ad. It's going to enrage, and it just destroys your tank. Really, your tank can only take like 2 autos from it. So killing it before it enrage is good. So right before dance is a really good visual. And you do dance again. Left is safe, right is the kite. But again, watch the frontal here. Do not kite around. See, those guys had to move. Now, this next part is the part where anyway, we do a bait here, then dodge into link. But this next part is absolutely critical. So what you're going to see here is a lot of guilds don't realize this for a while, is you're going to want to drag the boss in at about 5.5 seconds. I think like the actual timer might be like 4.5 to 6.5 off of the boss mod when we drag it in. Some guilds look at the energy. They're going to be like, oh, 96 energy. I think it's 97 energy. Move in. But we did it off of timer. So right here at 4.4, he went in. But this was actually late. So usually we would do 5.5. Now I'm going to explain the mechanics. So this, we either got lucky or we were on the minimum amount of time you can push it into that phase. We're usually pretty consistent at doing it at 5.5, but sometimes the boss doesn't move easily, which would cause that. So the way the intermission works is the ad will always spawn, like the intermission ad will always spawn with the boss's highest stacks. So what you see here on the frames is it has 30 stacks of fire, and let's see if he gains a stack here, or it was RNG'd. Okay. So it was on the minimum amount. So it takes, I think, 4 seconds or 4.5 seconds for him to gain a stack in that phase. So what you see here is 30 fire, 1 lightning, 1 earth, 2, 30 fire, 1 frost, 1 earth, and then 2 light. Now, the idea is he's always, in the first intermission, he's always going to take the 2 ads that have the highest stacks. So we have 30, and then we have 2. That's the goal. That's what you want to do. If you drag him in too early in the lightning, he will spawn the lightning ad, like he did the fire ad, and he'll spawn the intermission ads, and you push him, which is very, very bad. So that's why you're pushing him in the window before he spawns the lightning ad, but just enough time where you can get a stack of the things to spawn the lightning ad. Now the lightning ad's very, very important to kill here. It kind of is just a pain, and so what we're gonna do is we're focusing the lightning ad, and we're cleaving onto the fire ad, because the fire ad doesn't really do anything besides dance. Also, this lightning current targets the closest player to the ad, I believe. So usually our tank tries to stand in the model and then just run out. That's the lethal current. But he'll also do a jump, and the jump, very importantly, is always to a healer. So anyway, we're going to do dance, and we go in the middle of the room here. What we don't want is we don't want to go into the earth section and bait fire pools here, because that's where we'll be doing the next phase. So next is soaks, and we've assigned players. You see it here on our note. So like the first phase, we have fire immune 1 tank, fire immune 2 immunities, fire immune 3 off tank. That's what we have in our note if you can't read it. And then there's also something in the note for these soaks. It's just a list of 6 range players. So they're going to take it. And once the thing blows up, the next dance will begin. So the call here is don't cut off the main group, but try to get into the group if you're a range player. So the fire's going on, but what he's going to be doing is he's trying to follow them or move his way around and get into the main group. Now notice that the lightning ad is going to die here. This ad realistically should die before this third dance. One thing I brought up once but I didn't show you is that this lightning ad will always pick a healer. So having your healers in the main group is really important so the lightning ad doesn't go like way in the middle of the room here. So we took our healers off soaks. Anyway, we're going to kill the lightning ad. This is right on time. Ideally, you beat this lethal current with the dance. It's a super big pain. And now we're going to deal with just the fire ad. Now you can see the fire ad is going to enrage in 15 seconds from the timer. So what you can do is you can milk it for cooldowns, which is what we do a lot of the time. But this pull, we're trying to milk for a second, and that's it. One thing I didn't actually talk about is this dance right here. This is the last dance before the lightning ad dies. This is when you're taking the absolute most damage in this phase. These small ads that the fire guy spawns have to be kicked. So if you listen to comms, we'll just like say kick small guys, because they can combo you out so fast when the damage is this high. Once a lightning ad dies, the damage really goes down very quickly. So anyway, the earth phase starts. You can pause them in the middle here for like a second, see what they're doing here. They're pausing them for like a split second, and then they're going to move them in just to maximize your damage before it starts getting earth stacks and starting the phase. That's very min-max, and it kind of can come down to the wire at the end, so pretty important. Now, the simplest way to handle this phase is so you're going to see him just targeting down the boss, and that's because he's a BM hunter with the bow, and that was his whole job, is to do boss damage. Every other player, in theory, should be attacking the ad and cleaving onto the boss until the ad and the boss separate. So we'll go through that. But there's a few frontals and healing absorbs that go on the tank and players that need to be healed off. This mechanic, the call, is basically just once you're safe, just go. Any hesitation will get you killed. Like, you just have to full commit. And again, he's just going on the boss, but everyone else is going on the ad, cleaving onto the boss. Or most players. I don't remember our exact split, but if you're doing this now, I highly recommend doing what I'm saying. Again, you commit. Now, this mechanic is the small ads that come from the earth. This can actually clip under the floor and kill you when you think you're safe. So it's really important to like try to be as safe as possible. It actually even kills some players that are completely safe. It's a little buggy. I don't know if they fixed it or not yet, but that's just an FYI. And the idea here is we use grips or just like MD or whatever tricks or whatever to just get them in. And we do one stun on them just so that the tank can pick up aggro. And again, you're still just like passively cleaving, but you're really maximizing your damage on the ad right now, cleaving onto the boss. So this is when we swap to the boss. So what happens here is they need to split up the ad and the boss because they're going to do bedrock at the same time. So when they do bedrock at the same time, it's kind of hard to dodge when they're together because they do it slightly different. So what you're going to see here is you're going to see everyone in the raid on the boss, but the melee players are going to go hit the ad for a second so they can dodge in and hit the boss. That's just very min-max. So they're hitting the ad, they're going in, but now like everyone's going full boss. They're going to hit the ad a second here again when they go, and then they're going to swap back. But that's the double, so you need to have them separated before the double. And now we're just nuking the boss. Like, this thing is dead to dots and stuff. This wants to go down about when these spawn, the second ad, so this is a perfect timer. And now you're just maximizing your damage on the boss, doing passive cleave on these. These are handled the exact same way. So right now we're at 24 stacks, and the ramping damage is starting to get out of control. You have 20 seconds to phase, and now it is a huge ramp until the end. So you need to have healing cooldowns set out for these. The healing absorbs are out. And all he's going to do is do one more bedrock cast, which he's doing here. And again, hard commit. But again, look how much damage everyone's taking. Like, people are falling to 10% health. He's going to do one more tick on the raid. So you need to make sure you're using your defenses and health stones, especially early in prog until your healers figure it out. Now, when he hops into intermission, this is like an ideal percent for him, like 29%. Ideally, you're like 58, 59 in the first intermission, and then you're like 50, then you're like 28 in this one, 29. So he's gonna go in the middle, and now because you did the fire and the lightning, he's no matter what gonna pick the other two. Doesn't matter what the stacks are. So we're gonna get earth, and we're gonna get ice, and we're gonna target down the ice one because the earth guy doesn't really do anything. So the danger ones are the lightning and the ice one. So these go out of the raid, and we take them in the earth section because we're never going back there, and we're on the ice guy cleaving onto the earth guy. Now, there's an interrupt that you need to get on the ice guy. It's very easy to get, and I want to talk about absolute zero. So this is a group soak that the raid will take, but you need to split up into two groups. So it might be hard to see here on the recording, but basically we have a yellow group and an orange group. And there's going to be 3 soaks of absolute zero throughout the rest of the fight, and this is the first one. So in the very, very first soak, which is the one happening right here, in the star group, which is what we call the melee group, which will be on the right side of the boss, will be tanks and the player who's affected. The range group, which is orange, which is going to be on the left side of the boss, is 3 immunity classes: a rogue, a hunter, and a paladin. We only have one rogue. Rogues are very, very good at dealing with this first one. If anyone gets absolute zero and has an immunity, you get out of the raid and immune it. Don't ask for permission. Instantly get away and do it, and just say you're immuning. Don't even think about it, because the less people you get the debuff on, this like it makes the fight a little like less crazy and less room for mistakes. I don't even remember who gets an arc kill. So we have, okay, so this is caused by people having bigwigs and DBM, and that's kind of annoying because only like a few people have DBM, but whatever. They both get star, but one of them realizes they should probably be orange and go to this side. So you're seeing here is you're seeing 3 immune boys here and the tanks here. They're gonna take it. I think he died because someone missed their soak, if I remember, on the tank side. But anyway, that usually doesn't happen. And now you're done with the first set. This set here this is the other dangerous combo of this phase. You have bombs and you have the freezing tempest cast from the ad. So if you step out of it, it'll do a ton of damage. I believe if you are the closest target to the ad, you will be the one targeted by the bomb or the circle. We did not know that during Prague. I think that is the case. So in theory, you could actually have your really tanky players take it and then get out. Tanky / mobile players like Demon Hunters, for example, probably be really good at that. Or even like Druids or something. But they're going to basically get it, and they're going to step out with like a second and a half, depending on how quick it is, and drop. This drop here was really bad, because what ends up happening is he thinks there's over a second left because of the timer over his head, but the debuff is probably about to run out. And he's a squishy shaman, so he's scared that if he steps out and drops it, he's going to die. But the raid was smart enough to shift out of the position, so now it's not that big of a deal. And the monk, who went out a little early, almost died and got back because of Transcendence. So anyway, we get kicks, and now basically the phase is over after these soaks. So the soaks come out, and the second group of people is going to be, and you can see it here maybe, but it's literally all the melee and all the range that aren't in the first group. So every melee DPS is listed that wasn't doing a soak in the first group is doing the star soak. Every range DPS is in the orange group, taking orange. Now, if you were affected, if you soaked by accident, or you had the soak in the first group, you will not be able to do your soak, so watch your debuffs. I have also heard rumors it works like that boss in the last raid, sausage we like to call it, where like it will prio target people without the debuff. So in theory, you might be like bait immunities to these, but they really don't do that much damage, so it's not a big deal. But again, they're gonna split up. Start right, orange left. Maybe I said that wrong a few minutes ago. That's what we did. Start right, orange left. And you can see here that anyone like he has the debuff, so he's like out of it, and the other range players are in it. They take it, and we go. Now, the ice ad is basically done at that point, and now we're just dealing with the earth ad. You need to kill the earth guy before the ads come out, the last set of ads. And again, look at these guys. They just drop it in the old stuff. It literally just doesn't do any damage. So just drop in the old stuff. So we're looking at the timer here, and in theory, we want to like milk the timer to make sure cooldowns are up, but we also don't want to get the earth ads. So we're kind of just damaging. We're fine. We're a little ahead. We're just going to push it for safety, and we're going to go. So now in the last phase, you're just basically dealing with the boss and an ice ad. And the ice ad has a kick, same thing as the other one. But now there's a few additional mechanics. So one, you can't leave someone for too long, and then two, you have to dodge these things that come out of the boss in the ad. So right now the ad's casting it, not the ad, the boss. You cannot get hit by these. You got to dodge, dodge, dodge. Now you might be asking, okay, why is your hunter over here and not here? And that's because the tank is moving it out of the raid, and just for safety reasons, like he could do this without the hunter, but for safety reasons, they want to stay together so that they don't get frozen. So it's just like it's like free for the hunter to do that. And now he's pulling the ice ad away, so that the ice ad shoots it from the side, and you don't have to use the boss. You can dodge both way easier. He dies. I didn't see how. I think I got hit by something. But then again, Absolute Zero comes out, and the third group happens. So the third group, by the time the third group comes around, everyone has their debuff off of Absolute Zero. So it truly is a range and a melee stack point for the last one. So the first set, tanks, 3 immune classes. For the second set, literally everyone else besides tanks and immune classes. Third set, everyone. I personally left the tanks out of it because they could just step in if they want, and they have the tank stuff. So like whatever, if one person misses. So again, no immunity classes get it here. It was pretty unlucky, but not a big deal. They do the soaks. And now it's just basically a dodge fiesta. You're dodging things that are coming from the boss. You're dodging things that are coming from the ad. The hunter's going out here again to make sure that the tank doesn't get frozen. But again, he could stay in a little longer and jump out, but it's not a big deal. The boss is shooting out ice things, and now the ad is shooting out ice things. I think he just died because he didn't get healing. Oh, the tank died and it meleeed him. So now it's whatever because the tank had this out. But we're going to make it to the end here because we're so ahead in the other phases. So the soft enrage here, we're going to get to see. It basically kills you really fast. This last Absolute Zeros, they just run out and die. There's no point. The fight's about to end. And you can see this is the enrage. It's going to kill you in 2 seconds. But you can pop immunities, personals, healthstone, health pot, like even the first hit is pretty big, and that'll be it. Now you can see we had a few deaths here and still killed it. The amount, obviously if everyone's alive, you'll probably kill the boss. But the amount of damage you do in the first 2 phases is going to help your prog so much, get you to the end of this fight. So that's the fight. Not too bad, but as I said, like there is very specific things that could just completely throw your progress, and we ran into a few of those things. It was probably the worst boss we've done in a while. Small differences go a long way on this fight, and knowledge is king. So, but other than that, that's what we did on Grim Totem. We've had absolutely no problem re-clearing it. This strat works very well. It just took us a while to get here. Hope this helps you. That's it for me. I am out. Good luck, everyone.